Good morning, friends. Welcome to today's video post. Going to continue on the theme that I started on Tuesday, which basically is mindfulness. Mindfulness, including and especially how is it, not just mindfulness of what is happening, which of course is the first step, but also how is it? How is it both in terms of how it's impacting us? You could use Vedana for that, the pleasant, unpleasant, neutral, but also how is it in terms of how we are with it? How are we relating to it? And that is perhaps the most important inquiry or investigation. Coming in today to do this post with you. It's a very dark gray day today, not especially cold, not especially warm, just kind of blah. And I was noticing that my mind is kind of like that. Actually, it's just shifting now as I start to talk to you, but kind of like it was in a kind of a blah mood, you might say. Definitely kind of matching the quality of the weather outside. And, can we be mindful of something like this? Okay, yes. And then specifically, how are we with it? And especially when these these moods come through, you could call them dark moods, depressed moods, whatever, just feeling kind of yucky. There can be a lot of conditioning on many levels, which I'll just talk about a little bit, that conditioning that doesn't want to be with how it is or how this particular mood is, wants to change it, thinks it should change it, thinks there's something wrong. Popular culture can say, be cheery all the time and, live life fully. And if we're not like that, then something's wrong. It's like, no, nothing's wrong. Just like the weather systems come and go. It's sunny, it's cloudy, etc. These moods, mind states wash through the heart and mind. They come and they go. But there can be that cultural conditioning around kind of always having to be, kind of up and jolly and happy. It's like, no, that's wrong view. That's not congruent with how things kind of naturally unfold. There could be the reaction of fear, not so much around what's happening now. Let's say we have like a dark mood move through, but what might happen, like, oh, what this might turn into, right? It's like right now might just be a little kind of, a little dullness, a little heaviness, etc. Which in and of itself is, not a problem. It's just that, and really not so hard to be with. And yet, if the mind is racing ahead into the future and projecting, what's this gonna turn into, and what might this become? And now there's the agitation and there's the suffering. It's not unlike you're doing the formal meditation practice, you're doing the seated meditation, also maybe on retreat when you're doing quite a lot of the formal practice, and you start a meditation period, maybe a 45-minute period, and 10 minutes in, there's some ache or pain somewhere in the body. And again, in and of itself, right there, maybe a 4 or 5 out of 10, maybe. And just being with that, not a problem, quite easily done. And yet the mind is, what's this going to be like in 30 minutes? Oh no. And then based on that kind of reactivity of thoughts about the future of how this is going to be, then we react, i.e. we move. Yeah. So you know, it can happen on a physical level, it can happen on an emotional, mental level where we're actually not being with what is right now. We are projecting into the future what it might be and then reacting to that as opposed to responding and being with what it's like right now. So that can arise and make it difficult to just be with what's present. And then, of course, there is, especially with unpleasant things, this biological built-in um, resistance to what is unpleasant, right? What's unpleasant on an animal nature, biological nature, often uh, has been and is dangerous to us. The hot stove is dangerous. It will harm us. It will burn us, etc. And so we move away from that. And so there are these kind of biological headwinds to just staying um, with what's unpleasant. And because these weather patterns move through the heart and mind, it's always happening. There's plenty of opportunity to practice with these. So let's go ahead and do that now in the formal practice. Of course, it doesn't have to be in the formal practice, and the conditions, the form, right? Forms support. Right? The form of a building supports it staying upright. Yeah, the forms of concrete, when they pour a foundation, it helps the concrete be upright. So the form of the formal practice is very conducive to cultivating mindfulness. So letting the eyes close, coming into whatever posture you're going to use for this period of practice. Could be standing, walking, lying down. Of course, it could be sitting. And right as we come into the body, these first few moments of dropping into the body, connecting somatically, we can ask this question: how is it? How is the body right now? These pants that I have on today, they're kind of a little bit thick and tight, and I'm feeling some constriction and some unpleasantness in my calves. It's like, okay, there, it's like that. How is that? Oh, it's slightly unpleasant. Can I be with this? Yeah, absolutely. Which is very different than any thoughts about, gee, it's what will it be like 10 minutes from now, or why did I wear these pants? Why didn't I wear something else? Not just being with how it is right now. Body sitting is like this. Can we let go into the experience just as it is, free from wanting and not wanting? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe there's an experience we're having right now in the body and there is wanting or not wanting. Okay, then we practice with that. Aversion in the mind is like this. And we notice, how is this? Perhaps even just noticing or noting the aversion in the mind is a catalyst for it to follow its nature, shift, change, and dissipate. And then maybe we're left with whatever in the body there was the aversion to, and we're just with that. with a little less reactivity and a little bit more equanimity. So you can hear this sense of inquiry in the teachings, the mind state, the enlightenment factor is called investigation. So it's more active than just the shamatha practice where we're just being with one experience, cultivating calm and steadiness. This is a little bit more active. How is the body? How is the breath? And how are we with the breath? What's our relationship to it? Liking, not liking. We can also notice the presence of interest or the lack of it. That's very helpful to notice. Sometimes the mind is kind of bright and curious and just sort of wanting, enjoying being with experience. Other times it's a little duller, well, like you'd be called sloth and torpor, not as kind of happy to just engage with what is. And if we pay attention, it's very clear when it's one way or another in terms of the brightness and the curiosity or the lack of it. Sometimes I so often hear from meditators settling into the present moment, being with what is, breath, body, sounds, thoughts drifting through. And the question often arises, now what? What is that? What is that now? What? It's a subtle leaning forward. It's a subtle agitation, a subtle wanting in the mind. Now what? What's the next instructions? What's the next level to meditate on? Leaning forward into our experience. Settle back. Just this. And just this can be, pretty non-exciting. Colleague of mine says, can you bear the present moment as it is? Unexciting. Of course, that's unexciting to to a superficial attention. The more we sink deeply and connect intimately with the present moment, it's anything but unexciting. So if you feel that kind of now what, no, just stay. See if you can just stay. Stay with the breath, stay with the body, stay with whatever is being known. Notice it, notice your relationship to it. All of which is changing. Nice to meditate together. Thank you. Well, for many people, this evening marks New Year's Eve. And I feel like I want to say, in light of the practice of non-harming, right, our sila practice, I want to encourage everyone to, avoid going out, avoid being with crowds of people, not just for your own safety, but as a way of protecting all people. It's really not about just us, is it? And certainly this pandemic, if it's taught us anything, it's that. So I just feel like I want to encourage you to be safe and be safe by thinking of others. Okay, I will see you next year, tomorrow morning. I wish you well till then. Bye-bye.